which is what I have over here with two new projects that have nothing to do with each other. So what I want to show you is when I open up the old project, I go into Explore and I view the project, you can see that it'll have a certain rotation. It is rotated, I guess, this way. If I close this project and I open the next one, this happens to be just our office over here. If I look at it top down here, you'll notice that the rotation is wrong, completely kind of off, not even in the same range either. But this is essentially the outside, that's why it's called outside. And the other is actually the inside. So because I want to make sure that these two, outside, north and south, rotate in properly into the old project without actually moving it, occasionally, instead of having to combine the whole project, what you can do is, when we view it here, once again, I'll just pull it up, look at it top down, you see that it's really rotated, I guess that way, north, right? And you can see that we have a little bit of overlap outside here and a little bit of overlap outside in the front. So what I'll do is I'll identify the two scans that I want. So I'll hit this guy and I'll hit export, and we will export it as a scan, FLS, and I'll dump it into actually C drive. Here we go. And what I'll do is I have already exported them, so hold on, let me delete these guys. But essentially I'm exporting scan number 2, so let's just export scan number 2, save it, don't change any of these settings, we'll hit export. And then the other scan that's near the outside is this guy here. So if I click it, hold on, come on, there we go, that's what I wanted to click. So on the scan 006, I'll do the same thing, right click, export, scan ordered, FLS, this happens to be scan number 6, so we'll call it scan number 6, and just hit export. All right, this way, now if I close this project, and I create the new project, and I'll call it DPI anchor, because I'm going to be anchoring to these two scans. So obviously I don't have anything in here, so we'll have to go import our scans, and these are the scans that we just created. So FLS, and I'll bring them in, open, hit OK. Scene, as far as it's concerned, doesn't have anything processed, so we'll just do a quick processing over here. No color, I don't need any of the filters anymore, we just need to create a scan point cloud. So let's just wait for scene to respond here. And it's done. I'll hit OK. Now, the trick behind this is, if I do view project right now, these two scans, because we just brought them in from the previous project, which was correctly rotated. You see, it's, again, we got this sidewalk going left, I guess, or west in this case, and the actual parking lot going east. Even though we don't have a registration between them, what we want to do is we want to lock the relationship of these two scans. So we'll go into registration, and I'll tell it that it's manually finished. So here we go, manually finished. This means we will also lock the scan manager, so it's not going to try to disband these two, even though if I ran a registration between them, of course the registration would have failed, because there is very little, if any, correlation between them or commonality. So that's my first step over here. What I want to do is we'll hit save, we'll say and locked anchor scans, enter. Okay. And what I'll also do, and this is just me, but I like to rename it and call it anchor That way I know I'm not going to be messing with it. And because I want this to be my reference project or my reference cluster essentially, I'll actually go ahead in here and create it as my reference cluster. So we'll have this little blue dot next to it. So we're ready to try to import the other projects. Mind you, those other projects are already finished. So what I'll do is I'll go into import projects and I'll go into my Faro folder and we'll bring in North. I'll just open it up and we'll hit OK. Needless to say, nothing's working out. Everything looks like it's horrible. That's because we didn't do any kind of registration on anything yet. So we should have our anchor scan, which is rotated properly the way we want the outside to actually inherit that. So now that this is imported, what I will want to do is we'll create a brand new cluster. We'll call it inherit anchor. Let's call it that. So we'll bring this guy in here, this guy in here. We have two clusters that now we want to kind of register to themselves. So what I'll do is registration, leave this one be obviously. This one's already locked. That's the other thing that you always want to verify, that the registration or the scan manager is locked. So over here it's not going to try to disband the outside scans which are finished essentially around the property itself. So let me close this. Let me go into registration and let's just do a perform automatic registration, and because we should have some overlap, we'll hit top view based, we'll hit register and verify. And let's wait for the program to respawn again. And if you had enough overlap, you can see, I guess we can look at the report, but we'll still have to do a cloud-to-cloud registration. But as far as I'm concerned, when we look at it in 3D, even though the registration, as I said, is bad, if I do now a top-down registration, or at least a top-down view, my outside, which is this guy, rotated in properly with my inside that I had specified the position and rotation of by importing first. So these two scans, by having been defined as an anchor, or in this case as a reference cluster, the DPI North just came in and inherited that. We'll do another, you know what, no, let me do this. Let me import the other south here. So let's go do import project. Let's do the south, open. Here we go. Hit OK. Once again, we have the south, which is on top of the northern anchor, which is wrong. So, oh, it's barely visible there. But let me do this. Let me close this, and let's just move it also in here. Once again, we will verify that it's locked. Let's just do an update on the scan manager here. Same registration method. And if there's overlap, it should just come in. All right, so we have some results, not good results yet, but if I now look at it top down, yep, it looks like it actually came in. We got the one that's our anchor, and it rotated in the north and the south properly. I will do a refine on it because I'm not liking those numbers, but again, I'm not expecting super high values here. This was really just a test project, just to show that you can rotate into two scans that were from a completely different project now your transformation should be held, your coordinates will be held to the same transformation also. Optimizing and better values, better results. Again, I'm just trying to verify that the anchor, which is outside, matches with, I guess this was south, north over here. So if I double check my, my pavement over here, I only have one, even though they're right next to each other. So this scan position that was done in the, I guess, anchor cluster really correlates to the one that was done in the outside cluster, which happens to be, I think it is scan number 1. No, I think maybe it's scan number 1 here. Oh yeah, there we go. So you can tell that it actually worked properly and it inherits the right rotation over here. So without having to bring in the rest of the inside over here, we can correlate the outside with just utilizing these two scans that were locked together without registration. So if you notice that there is no registration here between them, there is actually nothing. This is just a carryover information from my original project. So we'll save this. We'll say rotated and imported to other projects. Let's bring it in. Alright, so now we're saved. I also actually always like to do this just to make sure that I'm kind of signed off on it. So we'll just save it again. Okay, and now just to prove the point over here, when we close this project, well, obviously we'll have the project that we just worked on. This is the original. This original is the one that if I look at right now, you'll notice that it's really missing everything outside. The only scan that's outside is the one that's out here in front, the entrance, and then there's a scan that's in the back here, and you see that there's once again just information inside with a dropped ceiling over here, whereas if we go in here and we look at this, you see that we have the same scan here, but no inside information because we didn't bring it in. Yet, here's the back actually. So, inheriting the same position, same rotation, without the scans, unnecessary scans that might have been too much information. In my case, this was a small project, so this might not make a big difference. But if you have thousands of scans over here, just exporting the two scans that you care about that might help register the individual, like over here it was this side, and then this side of the building still clicks it in properly. All right? Well, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.